Hey, what's happening? Happy Thursday to everybody. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, I'm excited for today's video. It's a Bam Margera video, number one. Number two, it's fresh. It just happened less than 24 hours ago. Bam was in court and made a plea deal. Bam Margera made a plea deal yesterday in court. And number three, this is the big one. Sometimes I'll come across a story about it, a rock star or a movie star or somebody like Bam Margera, and it will remind me. All of a sudden, I'll get a flashback, and I'm like, "Oh my God, something exactly similar happened to me in my life, just like this." With me, it was my sister, and I'll get into that later in this video. But that's what happened watching this. It's not. It doesn't make me feel good because like, oh, I'm like a rock star, or I'm like Bam Margera, but it makes me feel good. Because when I first started going to NA meetings and AA meetings, I realized that it wasn't just me that was a screw up. It was a disease. We all had this disease, and I didn't feel alone. And when I started going to meetings, I was like, oh my God, everybody had such similar stories going through this disease of alcoholism or addiction. And, the stories were some of the stories are just so exact, so similar. And you start to feel a kinship, a fellowship, and it gives you support. It's a good feeling. And I got that in this video because it reminds me, I just remembered this morning, a very similar situation that happened, with Bam. It was his brother Jesse in this story. And with me, it was my sister. And I'll get into that later in this video. Down below, I'm going to have links. And one of the best links I came across, it's a news channel that's in Chester County where Bam went to court yesterday. And it's got an interview with his mother. I had never seen Bam's mother before. I'll put that link right on top so you can watch it yourself. And Bam is not talking to his mom, and that kind of, or his brother, and that's tough, man. That makes me, it makes me feel that he still needs a ways to go in recovery, but I'll get into that more in a second. Let me talk about the story first. This happened in April 2023 when he was at his brother's place, and purportedly he came across the text that said that talked about him having mental health issues, and he got angry, and he allegedly relieved himself in a kitchen sink, and he got into a fight with his brother. His brother got a broken eardrum, reportedly, and then he split into the woods and took off. The cops were looking for him for a few days. I think this is the incident where he said he was going to smoke himself into oblivion, if you remember that. I think this was the episode. Okay, so yesterday he finally goes to court for this in Chester County, right outside of Philadelphia, and he pled it down. He pled not guilty initially to terroristic threats and simple assault. Those were the misdemeanor charges. And he pled it. He got a plea deal to 2 counts of disorderly conduct, and he got 3 months probation for each count. So he's got 6 months probation. And so he pled guilty. He put in a guilty plea yesterday. It was a plea deal, and he's going to get random drug tests. And in the video, I'll put this video right on top. This is the video with his mother and everything. And the judge actually, the reporter talks about the judge talking to him, and the judge told him that if he pops dirty one time, his ass is in jail. And I've heard this before. I kind of talked about something similar yesterday with the prosecutor. But if you watch yesterday's video, okay, so he pled, and then like I said, his mother talked, and his mother said, she hasn't been in contact with Bam, and she was, and she was just like a mom. She was like, she was making excuses for him. He's had a tough life, and and when you're at the top and you lose it all, she's saying, that it's hard to deal with. So she's still like making, it reminds me of it reminds me of all mothers. It's like their sons can't do any wrong. I remember my mother making excuses for my addiction and my alcoholism and all my bad conduct. Okay, so as I was reading this and watching this video down below, I had not remembered this. I had 20 years of addiction and alcoholism, and there was a period where me and my little sister, she's 6 years younger than me. Okay, I'm 6'3". I'm 193 pounds yesterday. My little sister is 5'1", 105 pounds, if that. She is a tiny thing, but growing up with me, she has an incredible, like, I learned not to screw with her. She is a tough little woman, man. I wouldn't mess with her. And this is a similar story. That this is back when I was using, and we were renting a house together, like a 3-bedroom house, and I was using and drinking back then. And my sister drank. I made sure she never used. I made sure none of my friends or anybody ever gave her any kind of substance. I told anybody, you're dead if you give my sister anything. And she never used. And she saw what a mess it made me, but she drank. Okay, so I was coming home from the bar one night. It was probably about 2 in the morning. And, I'm hammered. I'm coming down from my buzz. From cocaine and everything, and I come in the house, and my sister's up, and she's playing cards or something with her friends, and I just wanted to go to sleep. So I'm all angry, and we got into an argument, and she had been drinking too, and she's 5'1", and it got physical. And I feel bad about this because in all of my videos, I've talked about how I've never laid a finger on a woman. I grew up with my mom and my sister. I love, my father died when I was 9 years old, and I was the man of the family at 9 years old. And I love my mother and my sister, But my little sister, I did put hands on her. And she started hitting me. She comes up to here on me. And I held her against the wall. And I remember her feet were off the floor. And I was holding her by her neck against the wall, and she was just swinging at me like, it was just this fury that I couldn't stop. And I just wanted to go to bed. And I remember telling her, if you don't stop this, I'm going to freaking kill you, man. And she called the cops, and I went to bed. The cops, it took maybe 20 minutes, and I was already in bed, and I was laying down. It was about 3 in the morning, and she talked to the cops, and the cops came into my bedroom. And I had just fallen asleep, and I was still very angry, and not in a good frame of mind. And I wake up, and the cops are all standing around my bed, and they kept asking me, "What did you say to your sister? Did you say you were going to do this to her? Did you say this?" And I just like, leave me alone. I just want to go to sleep. Freaking leave me alone. And the house is all busted up. I kicked down a closet door. This was an ongoing melee between me and my sister. And eventually I got so aggravated at the cops because they wouldn't leave me alone. And I'm lying in bed with them all around my bed. And they keep asking me over and over again, "What did you say? What did you say?" And I was like, "Yes, I said I was going to freaking, do away with her." And I didn't even finish that sentence. And they had me out of bed. They grabbed me out of bed. My hands were cuffed, but I didn't even finish that sentence. They were going to take me out of that house one way or the other that night. And I actually ended up in jail that night. I believe my bond was $5,000. Similar charges, very similar charges to what Bam's facing here. Me and my sister made up. Here's something very interesting. Check this out. One of the best things in my recovery, I've had success as an artist. I found out that I could paint, and I had artistic talent. I've been selling paintings for a good amount in the 4-figure range, and I never even realized I could paint. I got this YouTube channel, which has achieved some amount of success. It's monetized. I've lost 90 pounds. I had my teeth all redone. Physically, I'm in much better shape. But the best thing in my life is that I've made amends. I have a great relationship with my mother and my sister. And here's the ironic part. Me and my sister are going camping together, just me and her, for the first 3 days before the 4th of July next week. I wanted to talk to you guys about this because I see one of the videos I did from the beach showing beachgoers in their bathing suits. You know what I'm saying? It did very good about back on Memorial Day. So I'm going to do more videos next week as me and my sister go camping together. Maybe I'll even introduce you to her, and we could, you know what? I'm going to try to talk my sister into doing a video where we could actually talk about this very incident. I bet you I could talk her into this. I'll do an interview, and oh my God, I'm excited about this now because I know she'll talk about this, and I'll talk about this incident where I got arrested, and my girlfriend ended up bailing me out of jail. And I was very lucky through all my years of drug use, same as Bam. I got pled down, and I ended up getting off on it, thank God. And me and my sister have a fantastic relationship now. But this story reminded me so much of between Bam's story reminded me of mine. I hadn't even realized till this morning. I hadn't even remembered this incident until this morning. And the thing with Bam is I really feel bad for him that he doesn't have a relationship with his family again. You know, that's a big part. That is the best, most important thing in my life right now. More important than my artwork, more important than money, more important than my physical health is the relationship I have with my mother and my sister, because we have a limited time on this earth. My mother's 80 years old. I'm going to be 60 in a couple of years, you know, and I thank the Lord that I have every day and every week with my mother and my sister to make up for the ass I was back then. All right, the links are down below. You guys have a good Thursday. Recovery is possible. Have a good Thursday.